I'm so happy to welcome again Reverend Verona Garland to speak about abundance and prosperity today.
Okay, let's get all the apparatuses together. Good morning. I'm really happy to be here today. And what showed up for me when I was to come here today was this title, Spirit shot it through me, Navigating the Cross Currents of Abundance. And I thought, okay, Spirit, I'm not really a sailor, and I don't know a lot about this. However, I do have faith and I do trust. But before we go on to learn about this and co-create about it together, and the reason I say co-create about it together is, yes, I am here with the microphone and the iPad, and you're sitting in the seats. However, this is a co-creation of the oneness of the divine. That whatever it is I have to say, it cannot fall on our hearts in the ways that it does without our permission to co-create together. So thanks for coming to have a play date in spirit together, and I'm happy to be here to play also. So I like to always start out with a little giggle. And the reason I start out with a giggle is that I have a tendency, myself, Verona Garland, to take things seriously when it comes to my spirituality. I make a list for myself. Meditate, vision, prayer, contemplate, journal, reading all the books that I have in my bookcases that are overflowing. And I need to remind myself that there is also joy and silliness and giggles and laughter and fun in spirit. So let's start with a little giggle. There was a child that went to one of these mega churches, you know, the kind that had a huge foyer and two and three times that they had their service. So in the foyer were glass cases with people's names, and it was honoring all these people. So this child was out in the foyer looking around, and the minister came out. And she said, "What is it you're looking at? What can I help you?" And the child said, "Yeah, I see all these people's names, and they're in these glass cases. What is this for?" And the minister says, "Oh, this is honoring them because they were in service." And the child kind of looked, a little tear came in the child's eye, and the child said, "Well, what service were they in? The 8:30 or the 11?" Yes, it's just all in the words, isn't it? It's all in what we say. So anyway, let's talk about navigating the cross currents of abundance, because just like David so wonderfully said, abundance is not just about green cash dollars or red or blue or whatever country you're from. It's about the abundance of all of life. It's about that we are abundant in so many, just myriad ways we have abundance in our lives. However, sometimes, because we are spiritual beings having a human experience, sometimes there are cross currents to our abundance. And what do I mean by cross currents to abundance? Well, one really big cross current to abundance is gossip. Now, you may be thinking, what has gossip got to do with this, Verona? Gossip is using the energy of the divine for something that is not for our greatest and highest good. And I want to be transparent and say, I have gossiped. I do try my best not to. However, sometimes that's a part of the conversation I have with one of my sisters. However, that is, as far as I'm concerned, a cross current because it's closing me down to the abundance of the universe. Recently, I was speaking with one of my sisters, and we were talking about someone who has different morals and values than we do. And we kind of fell off the edge in judgment about this individual. And then I realized, I said to her, "Oh, wait. This is a form of abundance. We can abundantly know that we do not get to judge, and we can abundantly be compassionate about exactly what is this individual's journey on the planet, not ours, not anyone else's, but we really get." And I got to remind her, and she didn't like it. She said, oh, the minister always comes out. However, I got to remind her that we get to stay in our own lane. Just stay in our own lane. So that's how gossip is a cross current to abundance, because if my sister and I were spending our time, my sister lives in Chicago, so if we're spending our time talking about something other than gossip, we are abundantly blessing one another. And if nothing else, we are abundantly blessing each other with the love that we have for one another. So this is one of the ways, the cross currents of abundance. Another cross current of abundance that comes in our life sometimes is there can be group consciousness. And by that, I mean, it used to be called race consciousness. A group can believe in something. A group can believe in poverty. A group can believe in not enoughness. You know, a group can believe in, and once the group believes in it, everyone in the group, it moves into their vibrational field. It moves into the energetic that they are. So this is another cross current. One of the big cross currents is poverty mentality. And sometimes, I don't know about you, but some of that poverty mentality just kind of seeped into me as a kid. One of the expressions that my mother and father said a lot, Verona, money does not grow on trees. And so that was a belief in lack. Now, I love my mother and father dearly. They're probably in this room here with us today because they're on the other side. They're in the next realm. However, that was their particular belief system, and that belief system came to them and through them by their journey on the planet, by whatever it was my grandparents said to them or great-grandparents said to them. So it's one of those sorts of things that sort of saying, it can get, I didn't realize for a long time that saying was stuck in a part of me. That in my cellular self, that saying was stuck in me. Money does not grow on trees, which made me not believe that source and supply is everywhere present. That all needs are met in time and on time. If I allow myself to accept and know this truth, if I allow myself to know that I am a vessel for source and supply, I am that I am. Yeah, that source and supply can only do for me what source and supply can do through me, which means that the abundance that I might desire, source and supply can do it once I say, yes, I am willing. Yes, I am. So this is another cross current to abundance, another way of having a cross current. And the final one is fear of being misplaced in your group. And what does that mean? Okay, so I teach about abundance, teach about prosperity. It's my thing, and it's because it's been my lifelong lesson, truly. And so I often say things, or what might come through me is, if someone says to me, well, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. We're not going to have enough for that. And I say, well, what is enough? What is enough? Let's look at what is enough, and let's look at also and see the openings of where the enoughness can pour into each one of us. So, my saying fear, false evidence appearing real, of misplacement in your group, it has changed the group of people I hang around with. It does shift who I spend my time with. And not so much who I spend my time with, it shifts who wants to spend time with me. So that's another one of those cross currents, because I have to tell you, initially, 20 years ago, when I really decided and came to know through New Thought, Ageless Wisdom, I am the abundance of the universe, it was kind of unnerving for me. And I want to be transparent and admit that I didn't always just say it out like I do now. However, it shifted. It shifted those who are around me. Now the people around me are completely different. And I'm sure you have that feeling, know that feeling, that as we know the truth and speak the truth, things change. Life changes. Hooray! So anyway, this navigating the cross currents of abundance, I did look it up for the scientificness of it, and how would one navigate a cross current. One way is to wait for the slack water halfway and float to the destination. Another way for a cross current, navigating a cross current, is move sideways across the currents. And a third way is drive up the current and attempt to cross. Now, those three things, when we apply them to our lives, I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know about you, but I don't know if those three things are going to work. Wait for the slack water halfway and then float to my destination. I'm not sure that's going to work in life. Or move sideways and let life go by. For my life, I don't know about your life, but for my life, I have tried that. It doesn't work. And also, drive up the current and attempt to cross, which that to me means just ignore it and just still try to be a part, try to move past it anyway, the cross currents of abundance. So I was being with all this and realizing, oh, this is a lesson in living. And what showed up for me was a Bible verse, John, the first chapter of John, the second verse, which is, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper. Yeah, when I let that sink in, beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper. So I was being with. So how do we navigate the cross currents? In what way is ours to navigate the cross currents? And the story of this lady who I really admire showed up for me. It's the story you probably know about her, Miss Osceola McCarty. She was from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. She was born in 1908, and she moved to the next realm in 1999. However, she was a product of a rape. She lived with her auntie and her grandmother. She was a washerwoman at age 8. At age 10, she was forced to leave school and become a washerwoman full-time because her auntie, who she lived with her grandmother, got sick, and the family business had to keep going. So you may have heard of her, I'm not sure, but the thought of her I love it. She was a washerwoman all of her life. And at some point in her life, when she was in her 60s, she donated $280,000 to the University of Southern Mississippi. It was an endowment for students, which encouraged 600 other local people to donate, which encouraged Ted Turner to donate, which meant that this university ended up with $1 million endowment. And this all started with Miss Osceola McCarty, with this lady who had been a washerwoman since she was 8 years old. And when I thought of her story, it's a story I've known for a long time. And when I thought of her story, I thought, oh, she knew how to navigate the cross currents of abundance, and she knew it innately. She knew it from her God self within. She knew what to do. And so I thought, okay, all right, let's just be with this spirit, and in what ways can we be a part of this? In what ways can I step into knowing how to navigate the cross currents like Miss Osceola did? And 3 things showed up for me, and I call them the 3 Ds, and they are first, being guided by the ingenuity of the divine within, just when we allow ourselves to be the 3 Ds. So the first one is define. Who am I? Who and whose am I, actually? I am made in the image and likeness of the Most High. I am source and supply itself. And Joel Goldsmith says, you have to embrace the realization of God as source and supply. Then demonstrate this realization of God within you. The consciousness of God, the awareness of God's presence. Once done, the rest automatically follows. Yeah, once I allow that, once I define myself as the presenceness of God, the rest follows. As I define myself as the wealth, the abundance, the opulence, the fluidity of the divine, the rest follows. It just does. That's the way the universe works. So the first thing, define who am I and whose am I. I am that I am. The second D is declare. And the declare is create a mental equivalent. Just create a mental equivalent. And one of the ways to create a mental equivalent is by visualization. Creating the mental equivalent of the end that I desire, because if I'm desiring something, it is the desire of the heart of God from within me. So to declare what showed up for me is the law is infinite and perfect, but in order to make a demonstration, abundance, we must have a mental equivalent of the thing we desire. So have a mental equivalent. What is it I desire? What is the mental, what is it I desire, you desire, we desire? And give ourselves a mental equivalent. Now, I said visualization. You can also, if you're artistically inclined, you can draw it, you can write it, you can, just know it and own it and embrace and embody it. And the third D is decide. That is the ultimate acceptance and receptivity. And I found a quote by one of my favorite abundance teachers, Reverend Ike. And what Reverend Ike says is, I don't care how hard you work. If you have the poverty idea in your mind, you are never getting out of poverty. You must accept the idea of abundance, of prosperity. Then that's the third D for me. Decide that abundance is who and what you are. Decide that prosperity is who and what I am. Decide that I am affluence itself. And did you know that affluent means flow? So just decide that I'm in the flow. Decide that and allow yourself to know that. So you're probably thinking, okay, We like these, the 3 Ds. Pretty easy to remember, define, declare, decide. So how are these working out in my life? Recently, I was involved in a very serious auto accident. No, I did not get hurt. However, what happened was I was driving along, someone was driving in front of me, hit me, was turning left, ran into me, and tore off the whole front end of my car. The whole front end of my automobile. Now, the first thing, and much to my surprise, maybe not my surprise because I've been ministering all my life, the first thing at the moment of impact I remember saying, and in the midst of it all, God is. Okay, right there. Just, still gives me God bumps to think about it. And so it unfolded, and so many things happened as this collision was unfolding. However, when I looked back on it, I realized I used these 3 things: define, declare, and decide. First thing was I found myself saying the 23rd Psalm, and I didn't know that that's what I was going to do. After I said in the midst of it all, God is, right at the moment of impact, the 23rd Psalm started pouring out of my mouth. However, it was and I realized I was defining who and what I am. Defining that the abundance and prosperity of spirit of the universe itself was right here and right now, despite the human appearances, despite the fact that I was in the middle of a very, very busy intersection in San Leandro, California, despite the fact that the whole front end of my car is gone, despite the fact that I cannot turn the car on to get it out of the intersection, despite all the human appearances, just defining who and whose I am, defining that in the midst of it all, God is, and that I am an expression of that. I'm a vessel of that. Second thing, declare. Creating some mental equivalents. So now I'm thinking, and I have to just tell you, I know it's silly of me, but I love my car. She has a name. Her name is Shira, and her name is Shira because she brings me sheer delight. She is a Toyota Corolla SE. She's a speedy car. However, the next thing was I realized I had to declare. I create a mental equivalent. And the mental equivalent I created is, she's going to run again, and she's going to look the same way. And we're going to still have fun together, and she's going to take me places safely, and we are going to be moving about in the world in the ministry of the Most High. So mental equivalence came to me at that time. Now, there was a lot of things going on. Bus driver goes by and yells out, I called 911. It was a lot of God things. Someone came up to me, a young woman came up to me and held my shoulders and said, I am an ER nurse. Are you okay? What is your name and where are you? Another person rode by on a bicycle, riding by on a bicycle, yelled out, hey, sis, I'm praying for you. And that was, to me, part of declaring the mental equivalent that despite what this all looks like, this is a wonderful, blessed situation. This is the abundance of the universe showing up here. And I know you might be thinking, really, Verona? Yes. Yes. Because what else kept coming to me is, I am that I am, I am that I am, I am that I am. And that Bible verse that I read up front, beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper. I knew that there was some prospering in the midst of this all. And then the final thing, decide, which is the ultimate acceptance and receptivity. So I decided, after my car got on the intersection, after the tow truck driver came to pick up my car and said to me, could we pray? Could I pray for you? Yes, you can. After all this, I decided that it was all turning out to the highest and the best and the most prosperous and the most affluent of all. I actually decided that while in the tow truck, driving along, in the big, one of those big ones with this big back thing and stuff, in the tow truck, I decided that as they put my car down in front of my house, and she didn't look anything like I knew her to look, I just decided this. So, here's what happened. The young man who precipitated this collision, he had insurance. Yay! And registration, yay! Which I understand is unheard of these days. My insurance company decided to not total my car, yay! And they fixed her to the tune of $12,500. The insurance company paid for it. I want to be transparent with you and say something that really kind of embarrasses me, but I love being open and vulnerable. So when this all happened, I called my insurance company, and they said, okay, it's going to take a while to fix your car. It took a month. We are going to need a rent-a-car. However, Miss Garland, you did not get rental car coverage on your insurance. I said, I didn't? No, you didn't. So I said, okay, all right. Source and Supply knows what it's doing. Source and Supplies, here it's available. And so I said, well, I'm going to get a rent-a-car anyway. It's going to take a month. And they said, okay. The next day, my insurance advisor, I guess you call her, phoned me back and said, we were talking about this, and we've decided that once you turn in your receipts for your rent-a-car, we're going to have the other person's insurance pay you back. Yeah, $1,200 later. Yeah, and the money is here. I mean, the collision was back in September. The flow of circulation made itself known. So I really didn't realize this when I was going through all of this. However, it did help me to have these three things. I was navigating the cross currents of abundance. Oh, and the other abundant thing, of course, is I was hale and hearty. And the person who precipitated this collision, he was hale and hearty. And nobody who was walking through the intersections that he and I went through, no one got hurt. Everyone was just as they were when they awakened that morning. So, navigating the cross currents of abundance, this was truly an abundant opportunity and experience for me. And the navigation, unbeknownst to me, came with the 3 Ds that I wasn't even thinking of those words. Define, declare, and decide. So, I'd like to ask you, I want to challenge you today. I want to challenge you today to navigate the cross currents of abundance with the 3 Ds, define, declare, decide, and know that it is a soul-harmonizing expression of spirit. That it is spirit wanting to make itself known, seen, given, and flowing forth through and as each one of us, through and as you, through and as me, through and as our entire planet. And I just want to leave you with one other Bible quote. And this quote says, "Wealth and honor come from you. You are the ruler of all things. In your hands are strength and power to exalt." So in each one of our hands is the strength and the power to navigate the cross currents of abundance and bring the highest and the best and the greatest and the most prosperous and the most affluent of the divine in, through, and as each one of us. Blessings.